Oh, man. Murphy's Law says anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And unfortunately, that has been the case for the Cleveland Browns this season. Our kicker is missing kicks. Our offensive linemen can't stay healthy. And make matters worse, I think our defense should be called Murphy's Law because whenever things go wrong, they go really, really wrong.
We're dealing with some Murphy's Law right now, apparently.
Yeah, Chad is out of the line. But either way, to make matters worse, our offense was ranked top 15th last year. Change, dismantled, and blown up for a quarterback that can't even stay on the field. Offense is struggling to They scored 16 points a game. For the record, that's ranked 31st out of 32 teams. The fans want blood of their coach and the general manager, which is understandable, but we cannot give you blood, but we can give you our ears so you can tell us your disappointments.
Plenty of them.
Yeah, but before we dive into the show's content, please take a moment to like, subscribe, enable show notifications on YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram to stay updated and never miss out on our latest content as soon as it releases. Also, follow us on Discord, where you can not only chat with us during games, which was pretty cool to do this past Sunday. Mike, do you agree?
Yeah, everybody was letting their frustrations out right on Discord.
Yes. You can also leave a voicemail, maybe be played on the show. Let out your frustrations that way. Lastly, a huge shout out to our incredible partner, CB Excavating. If you got any excavating needs, do not wait. Give them a call today for a unbeatable quote. And hey, it's the new year around the corner. It's a perfect time to connect to our other partner, Doug White, for Allstate Insurance. Why not see if you can save you big money on your insurance policies? Call Doug after the show. Get a quote today. And remember, when you reach out to them, let them know that the Bearded Brown sent you. Enough with all this, fellas. Chad, you came back on just in time. Enough with all this. It's time for some good, the bad, and the ugly. Who wants the good? Very, very bleak. Bleak week this past week against the Saints. I guess we pulled out some good. And you take it, Mike?
I'll do the good this week. James Winston was the good.
Yeah?
Obviously, that was very clear. The dude threw for almost 400 yards in a game, no interceptions, a couple touchdowns. Everybody looked good. You guys could hear me, correct?
Yeah.
I'm just making sure because that's exactly what I saw.
Yeah.
It's just crazy because the guy has one bad game, and it's in Cleveland fashion. We all just give up on him immediately, and everybody's like, "Oh, put in DTR, put in DTR." You want the same product that game was? Put in DTR. That bad game that Jameis had, put in DTR. You'll see the same product from that one game. He improved. He showed a lot to be able to stay in the pocket and make big plays happen. That's the first time we've, as a Cleveland Browns organization this year, has had one offensive play go for more than 40 yards, and that was an 89-yard touchdown to Jerry Jeudy. So, yes.
Good job, Jameis. I'll take the bad. Losing with good quarterback play. And it sucks that you go into the fourth quarter pretty much tight. Actually, you should have been winning, but that's going to be for the next topic. And you lose the game for multiple reasons defensively that we will get into later. And despite Jameis not throwing any interceptions, throwing 2 touchdowns, and playing pretty good, you still lose a game. Now, we all know you win with Jameis's arm and you tend to lose with Jameis's arm. And sometimes it's one good game and one bad game. So it's trending to be pretty bad Thursday night for us. So let's hope that he shows up again Thursday. So basically the defense wasted a good quarterback game.
Angel has a bit of an echo.
That does feel like the bad, though, is you wasted a great game where Jameis might have been a little bit better than against the Ravens. He was really good, and it's just such a bummer. And then I have the ugly, and it spins right off of what Angel was saying a minute ago, is that we went into the fourth quarter with a tie game, and we could have been leading, but we're missing kicks. And DeAndre Hopkins, I know the stat sheet says 2. We all watched the game. He missed 3 kicks, and 2 of them were a complete gimme. One is the exact scenario you like pray for, where you completely whiff a kick, you get a penalty, so you get a chance to remake that same kick in the same scenario, a couple yards closer, and then you shank it again, just as bad from the right hash to the left side. How can you be that inaccurate kicking the ball when last year you missed like 2 kicks the entire season, and then you're whiffing 3 kicks in one game? I just don't understand. I mean, you defied Murphy's Law before I was able to get on, right?
Yeah.
That's what made me think of that. It's like every friggin' thing on this team that could go wrong, injuries, play, penalties, whiff tackles, now kicking game, like everything that could go wrong is going wrong.
Not only that, he missed those in a
and I don't know
dome.
what you do. Yeah, it's not like, oh, the wind was crazy, and you've got this guy. They re-signed this guy to an extension, so they had him last year. He played so well, it would be hard not to sign him to an extension. They signed him to like a 2 additional year extension from this year, and now what do? You go, and I guess they're sticking with him, but you go into the next game feeling like, are we just going to go for 2 points or for it on 4th down whenever we can? Because I don't trust this guy to make a major kick, especially not a game-winning kick at this point. I don't know. That's
You
the
could
ugly.
bring back Cade York.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
Did you guys see my Spider-Man post?
Yeah, that was
Yes.
hilarious.
When did they become the same guy? They're the same guy. How did that happen?
Same guy.
Is Angel still echoing everybody? That's
Am I
question is-
echoing on Facebook? Am I echoing? If I'm echoing, it's Chad's fault. We were trying to fix this before the show, and I don't know what's going on. My board, nothing was touched. Actually, I lied. My 8-year-old was messing with
I know.
the pods, and I mean, she wasn't touching anything important other than the pods. But anyways, yeah, it was ugly, and I think what to move on to the next point, what was very ugly, other than the big ugly, was the defense, but the special teams this year has been horrible.
They're bad.
Horrible.
They're bad. We don't have one impact returner. We have all of these guys on this team, these skill players all over the board, aren't making a crazy impact in the game. But how do we not have a kick or punt returner who's dangerous? We let the punt returners on the other team break these massive runs, if miraculously sometimes being able to tap them out of bounds, or else we're giving up several touchdowns this year in special teams game. We can't kick, we can't cover the kicks, and we have no impact returners. I mean, I don't know. We're talking about a lot of coaches. Haven't heard nearly enough about the special teams coach and how this has all fallen apart. He couldn't get Cade York under control. Hopkins was better when he started than he is now. They changed the rule for returns for kicks, and okay, everybody struggled for that for a week or two. And the Browns, I guess, are covering okay there, but punts didn't change, and he's being bailed out by the best player on our team, our punter, because other than that is the special teams that I see that's playing well. Literally just the punter.
He had more punting yards than the whole offense did 2 weeks ago. I mean,
2 weeks, yeah. The week
Kenny
before the
Mack
virus.
says-
Friggin' joke.
Kenny Mack says Ventrone was up for a head coaching job, and
Not
this is what
anymore.
we get. Yeah,
Nah, he's not. Yeah, he's been a very disappointment, man. Weird that he was having all this love and hype coming into the season last year, and we're like, outside of now Hopkins had a great year last year, obviously, and hindsight being 2020, maybe they should have been like, oh, let's see what you do this year before we give you an extension. But that's the kicker. It's the season. I don't know. Once they're bad, they just crap out. Man, look at Tucker in Baltimore. It seems like he's going downwards on a spiral. But man, I'm just surprised that we have not had. This is my only knock on Kevin. Like he has, one knocks. We have never had a good special teams. Now, when I mean good, I mean something like.
It's been since Josh Cribbs since we had anything
Yeah.
special.
It's like-
Josh Cribbs and Phil Dawson was the last time we were like, I can count on some special teams plays this year that get me out of my seat. And that was, I mean, guys, Josh Cribbs played for this team over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I want to make a point. Here, listen to this. Dennis made a point. Boswell isn't. Chad just left again. I'm hating Streamlabs today. Anyways, Dennis made a good point and said Boswell. Let me get him back here. Boswell is not. He had an amazing week with field goals, but there was Cincinnati dropped 2 field goals. Baltimore dropped 2 field goals. Is there something in kickers' water this week? I mean, what the hell?
I don't know.
There's so many missed kicks.
I don't know. They happen, I guess, but what bothers me is, like, we all agree the punter has been great, but like I said, you miss a kick or two, that's fine, but like they can't cover either, and they have no impactful returners.
Yeah,
Guys on their team that should be able to return a punt. Elijah Moore is fast. Jabari Thrash hasn't tried. They brought in a receiver off the practice squad in Tony that I was told it's probably to return kicks because that's the one thing he can do. Nope, apparently not.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's something like you just said. No one's talking about. They're talking about Kevin, and they're talking about him being fired, but yet there's another guy that needs to be talked about, and let's get into it. Our defense has no hustle. Why, guys? What is going on with our defense? Our defense, depending on what metric you're looking at what websites, between 10 and 15, maybe even higher, 8 to 15, sorry. This defense is just horrible. It's just what it is. I know on paper, if you look at some metrics, they're like 16. They look good. But what's killing them? It's like 1 to 2, maybe 3 plays a game that just kills the game. It kills the momentum. It kills the drive, the desire for players to play. I don't even know. It's so confusing watching this team where there are 3. Oh, it's 39. We're about to lock them out, and then all of a sudden, it's a freaking touchdown being scored. Insane.
This defense is literally Jedrick Wills. The same thing you guys always make fun of me for, Jedrick Wills. Like, it doesn't matter if he has a 90% pass rush like win rate or pass block win rate if 10% of the time he completely whiffs and gets your quarterback killed. Because in football, if your defense is asleep for 1 play, that can be a 7-point play at any time. There is no play where your defense can just lapse because a receiver has been caught running past our secondary several times. We've had running backs break a tackle, and it's like, oh, shoot, we thought we were going to get him at the line of scrimmage, and nobody is there. And then now we had a situation where Taysom Hill pretty much did whatever he wanted, and we missed tackles all over the place. Like, they made a bunch of big plays. They played steady for huge chunks of the game, but their lapses consistently led to a score on the other team. 3 of them in the fourth quarter in a tie game where they had nothing on you. They literally had nothing on you that game until you just let Taysom Hill break. Taysom Hill averaged 17 yards after contact in that game. Are you friggin' kidding me?
I just picked that dude up on my fantasy as well.
Taysom friggin' Hill. He's not playing the Browns next week, so he's not going to do that. But
Taysom Hill has 2 good games per season. Every season, he has 2 impactful games. Did it really have to be our team that let him play all these gimmick plays? By the way, if Kevin had run any of those plays, they would be booting him out the door right now. Fans would be screaming for him to be fired for doing these weird tight end trick plays. Meanwhile, the Saints beat us doing them. Like, how did they let those go?
Yeah.
So I want to hit up this comment. Real quick, congratulations to Angel. But Dennis says, hey, where'd it go? Hey, anything's possible. Angel got his wife pregnant again. So congratulations to Angel.
Yes. For those that don't know, my wife is now 5 months pregnant. We've been keeping it a secret for a while, obviously. You guys knew. I told you guys when it happened. But I told her the other day, I'm like, I think we should kind of make this announcement sooner or later, huh? Before people start seeing you.
She's like 3 months or so. Like,
yeah. Well, she's 5. Yeah, she's 5. Yeah. Well, wait, no, 3-4 months. Yeah. Either way, yes. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate you. I love that guy. He used to be my boss. He's a big Pittsburgh fan. He loves to brag on me.
I think I remember him being here.
Yeah. Speaking of the defense, like listen to this. The Saints, their play action. By the way, Gary Kubiak. You know who was his best friend at one point? Kevin, right? So play action, right? You know, we used to do play action here in Cleveland like a couple of years ago, and we were pretty successful at it, but we end up getting a quarterback that just plays in shotgun, and we just scrapped the whole thing. But anyways, the Saints in play action, were 10 for 14, 177 yards, and 1 touchdown. On our defense, 177 yards and a touchdown. 10 for 14. The
That's a
Saints
joke.
had 4.
It's Derek Carr and Taysom Hill throwing the ball.
Yeah, exactly. The Saints had 4. Right, they had a total of 5 third down conversions. 4 of those were 39 were converted. 4 39 conversions. I think 2 of those were touchdowns, by the way. And the Browns defense only allowed 6 pressures all game. But yeah, we're focused on our coach being a problem, and we just giving you two coaches to have issues.
I was focused on the echo and got rid of that, so we're good.
Our coaches, there's a bunch of cases you can make for guys like Schwartz too. Like you could come around and say, like, I don't have much to talk about our special teams coach. We're past the time being like, he was really good in Indy. Like, I don't care. He's been here and now he's got to be better here. But Schwartz has a really good resume. You can make the argument like it would seem like a panic move to fire Schwartz, but it is probably worth, after a bye week, you expected him to go back to the drawing board, focus on the tackling, drive his coaches in the secondary, in the linebacker room. You need to get your players to buy in to form tackling. They need to wrap these guys up. They don't even need to make the monster hit or the tackle. They need to wrap guys up so we can swarm to the ball and make things happen. They come out of the bye, and there is literally nothing going on. Like, they got torched on a couple big plays against the Chargers, and it's an incredible quarterback over there, but their playmakers are not something that we should be fearing or giving up gigantic plays to. And then you go to the Saints, who have been one of the most up and then deep down teams, and you made them look with no receivers on. They had Marquez Valdez-Scantling as their number 1 receiving option. Sometimes a guy who's not the guy can have a good game. He was their number 1 receiver coming in. Your game plan is, well, we're going to cover him as per normal, and we can cover the whole rest of the field. And Kamara, and it looked like they planned, like, we'll stop Kamara and we won't do anything else. And then a play comes in with Taysom Hill, and they're like, well, he's not Kamara, so we're cool. Nope, you're not.
We don't need to get him. He's not Kamara. Let him run.
Like Rue says, not to mention the interim head coach that came in and just walked all over us. I mean, does that make them unpredictable as to what they're going to do?
Gave them a big of a, yeah, you're right. Gave them a bit of a boost, but like, come on, guys. He hasn't had time to game plan us the way we had time to game plan for him, and we came up with nothing. Like I said, we threw for a lot of yards on offense. We still struggle to get the ball in the end zone. I guess that happens, but your defense played great for, just like we said,
3 quarters,
80+% of the game, like 3 quarters, but also it just gave up the exact plays they've been known to give up this year. Teams just know that, like, we're just going to, any given play, I can score. Like, that must be a nice feeling for an offense. It's like, well, we're playing the Browns, so one snap, somebody won't be paying attention at all, and we can definitely score. That sure keeps you motivated to play your best.
Yeah, and if you go back to last year, they were also too struggled with that a little bit last year. They allowed a couple big plays a game last year where it was either a defense or a huge first down for the other team, and we overlooked it because the season was just magical last year. Now, maybe if the season was as magical last year, this year, we would overlook it, but it's a huge problem now because you don't have a quarterback, not that, or I wouldn't even say quarterback, but you don't have the magic that you have last year to overcome those mistakes.
Well, I mean, we don't have the defense we had last year as well. I mean, it's all the same people.
We looked at all those PFF scores, and like, the defense is continuing to play well overall this year. It's just those lapses seem more dramatic, and it may be because even though we got 2 turnovers in this game, it may be because through most of this season, we haven't made the big plays to make up for the lapses, but it also feels like these lapses come in like little spurts. Like, the Chargers put up 2 huge plays on them, and it's not like, you feel a little different to me. I feel a little different if Jamar Chase makes some amazing play against our defense. Whatever, he's the best receiver in the league on some weeks. When you have guys like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Taysom Hill, earlier in the season, you have guys like Singletary, who immediately lost his job as running back. Like when you have those kind of guys tearing you up, it begs for you to go back to the drawing board and say, what are we missing and how do we fix it midseason? And it's not happening. And I'm not calling for firing the coach. I'm just opening the conversation. We're going to talk so much about Kevin. Can we talk about the defensive coaches, whether it's head coach or coordinator or position coach, and some of these other guys who are just have no real excuse on why things are different?
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on to the offense.
Yeah, I consider him blast his defense the whole show.
Yeah, I mean, did we point out that they gave up their 50th explosive play of the year?
No,
No,
we didn't.
Okay.
And that is
hit that
is
before
a
we
league
move on?
high.
That is a league
Right
high.
now, the
Yeah.
Browns are at the top of the league, and I don't know if it was. I want to say they're not number 1. I want to say they're number 3, but they've given up 50 explosive plays. And for those that don't know, the NFL registers an explosive play as a run longer than 10 yards or a pass play longer than 20. That is where this team is failing. When we say the defense is playing really great, but then have these lapses, that's what they give up. They give up these 38-yard runs. They give up these 54-yard passes, frustratingly, constantly on 3rd or 4th down. That Taysom Hill touchdown was on 4th down and 1. They're trying so hard to stop him from getting 1. Once he got past 1, he just ran all the way to the end zone. It's like, what? You can't let him do that. You have to make a tackle and stop him. And I watched that play on replay and on repeat, by the way. And I'm just watching guys like dive for his feet near the line of scrimmage, or I think it was Grant Delpit comes running laterally across and then just dives at him, but basically turns his body and hits him with his back and shoulder. What did you think you were just going to take his legs out? He basically just bounced right off you.
What was that stat I showed you? We've missed 64 tackles so far this year, and we're ranked 4th in missed tackles.
I'm surprised we're not ranked first. I mean, you think about 50 of those plays, you say, right? Was it 50 explosive plays? And we're only 10 games into the season, so they average 5 big plays a game. They allow 5 explosive plays a game.
We have defensive playmakers. We don't have them on offense. We have them on defense. So Denzel Ward is a playmaker. He made plays that game. You occasionally get, when JOK was out there, he was making plays. He wasn't there this time, and he can't be every time, but Myles Garrett makes plays. You have guys like Dalvin Tomlinson, who has the capability of making a big play. There's guys on defense who can make a big play. The problem is you cannot have huge lapses, and you can't just miss tackles. If they can just clean those two things up, they're basically the same defense as last year. The other statistical categories all over the board, they're fine on. Turnover, they're always going to be all over the place. We're playing so much better quarterbacks this year than last year. It's just fundamental stuff like tackling and being close to your assignment. So even if you miss, you don't miss for a touchdown is crucial, and they're not doing it. And somehow through the end of this year, that's got to be their focus, or there's going to be so many more changes.
I want to hit up 3 comments really quick. James Frank says it's always on 3rd and long, and it seemed like that way. Every 3rd down, they'd get a 1st down, and that was like, come on, guys. You have one job to get off the field, and you blew it several times. And then Kenny Mack says pursuit angles and give a damn factor is, whoa, what was that? Pursuit angles and give a damn factor is low, and that leads to big plays. And then James Frank, I agree with your first comment, but this one, he says, and Thornhill jogs after Devin Bush and outran Thornhill.
I literally didn't say that because I knew somebody was going to bring that up.
There was no
that was
angle.
The most annoying play of the game.
But there was no way he was going to catch. There was no way. It's dude.
I know.
But try.
At that point,
about...
just run. Here's the thing. There's no way you're going to catch him. There's no way you're going to catch him. Just in the 1 in 100 chance he bumps into the back of his blocker and has to like step back a notch, be right behind him so you can swipe at the ball or at him. I know he's not going to get there, but we're about to play the Steelers this week, and you point out to me the person on that team that jogs on a play because he knows he's not going to get there. You won't see it, and it's why they're winning games and why we're losing.
And why they win games. Yeah, it's why they win games without
internally,
scoring touchdowns.
I'm like, internally, I agree with Mike. Like, he wasn't going to get there, and there was 2 guys ahead of him that had a better chance of catching up. But the teams like the Steelers, the reason we're always like, how do they get these breaks? Because they have some dude hustling who could be
Exactly.
an absolute nobody on the team. And this guy decides, I'm going to cut this inside. And it was like, oh, didn't expect that. And this one guy happens to be right there, swipes his hand, the ball comes flying out, and they pick it back up and run the other way. And that doesn't happen for us if guys like Thornhill, who's already been criticized so much this season, decide, well, I've been out for a while. My knees are sore. I'm not going to catch him anyway. And they jog through a play.
I'll tell you what, you give me a third of that guy's paycheck, bet your ass I'm going to catch that guy.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about perception, right? Even if you think you can't get them, you don't want the fans to think you gave up. And that was makes fans say, this is what I heard all week. They give it up. They're giving up on their coach. Look at, and they point out to that one guy not running and say, look, the team's giving up. They're not running after the defenders. It's like, it's one guy. Yeah. The rest of the team's balling, trying their best. And you point out to one guy. That's why it's an ugly play.
Yep. Totally agree.
But that was uncalled for.
You just need hustle. You can't. Yeah. You cannot give up right now. The whole point of keeping in Jameis there and continuing to play is because you're trying to build a culture of we're not going to quit. We're just going to keep grinding, even when there's nothing to grind for. You just have to try.
Yeah, and that's why, to your point, that's why Pittsburgh wins without scoring touchdowns, because they have guys that hustle to the whistle blows. It's just
that was an
simple.
Insane game to watch.
Yes. Onto the offense. Play, design, play calling. Do we see a difference? Do we see anything new? Any new wrinkle happening since Ken Dorsey has taken over?
I'm gonna do something, and this is gonna make Chad super excited because I'm gonna go with what he said 2 weeks ago when he said this is still Kevin Stefanski's offense being called. It does look exactly the same. The only difference is you have a guy lining up right behind center, not in shotgun so much. You have a running back in the backfield a majority of the time, which I like. So yeah, I'm going to go with Chad's take on that one. I'm sorry.
It looks so much like the offense Kevin felt like he wanted to be running the whole friggin' season. It's like they've got Jameis under center, and he's probably like, I was calling plays. And I guess the big thing is we talked about this when they switched over to Dorsey. Why would they do it at that time? I think the only thing you've seen is when Jameis plays good, they win. When Jameis doesn't play good, they lose. But I almost think it takes a notch off of Kevin to say, like, we've got somebody else calling plays. And I would say the only benefit is they don't have as many pre-snap penalties. They've still got a few, but they don't have the number of that. And that could be a lot of reasons. It's later in the season. Jameis might be a better communicator of the playbook and the plays. He might be, guiding traffic a little bit better. Kevin might actually be on the sidelines able to, like, sort things. I don't know what you do on the sidelines as a head coach that makes them not have an illegal procedure. I don't know if you're like, hey, by the way, this is an illegal motion if you start coming forward first, but you're not there to say that to Elijah Moore or whoever. But somehow that's a positive. But when it comes to actually the plays they're running, the type of offense they're running, it looks more like Kevin than what Kevin was calling. And it's crazy.
The only thing I have an issue with is 46 passes and 20 runs. And I know that's the Ken Dorsey mentality, and I get it.
Not only that, they're kind of keep it easy on Chubb. I'm sure they're not going to give him a
bunch.
bunch.
I was just going to ask that. Do you think that part of it is they don't trust their running backs except for Chubb, and he's definitely still on a snap count. They're playing him like 8 to 12 runs a game.
Yeah, he's coming up here shortly.
No matter how well he's playing. Why would you rush him at this point? Like, what's the point? You're not going to be like, well, let's drill Chubb for 25 yards in a losing season. Your best bet is you slowly work him back. He avoids injury, and you're like, well, we can bring Chubb back next season. He looks good again.
Yes.
But yeah, we're going to get more of it, or do you think it's Dorsey's playbook?
I would run Ford more then. If Ford's gonna be your second running back, just run him. I would try my best to bring that down to at least 35 attempts throwing.
I don't disagree at all. And the frustrating part is this is the third game I can think of right off the top of my head where you weren't running and you weren't down, you were in it, and they no excuse not to run. The excuse is always like, well, the game got away with them. They're trying to save the clock. They're trying to catch up. they were playing tied until the fourth quarter. Like, you had plenty of chances to say, let's just run on them and see what we can do. Chubb's averaging pretty good yards per carry. Ford's averaging pretty good yards per carry. Let's give them more carries.
Yeah.
I want to hit some of these comments again really quick because they're good.
Roll them out.
Frank says, I'd be happy with all the division wins the rest of the season, which would be cool. Yes,
I agree.
to an extent. Kyle says, the biggest thing I see the difference in offensive play calling is that it appears to be more check down options.
That's Jameis.
Yes.
That's Jameis.
Yeah, that's Jameis, I think.
Yeah.
It's
Kenny
definitely
Mack
gameplay.
says, steal the Saints Tyson Hill Wildcat for DTR. Play DTR in that more. Because remember, every show I say DTR could be like a running back or wide receiver.
That's what they were trying to do that game that against the Bengals where Deshaun got hurt, and it just turned out to be such a nightmare of a bad coincidence that they're like, I think we've got some running plays thrown in here for DTR against this Bengals defense that can't cover past the secondary. And it just turned out to be, I wonder if they're haunted by like, oh my God, we put in DTR as the backup for packages. And it was a nightmare. Now at least DTR is your actual backup. So I'm with whoever wrote that. Like, now you could run those plays. He's your backup.
Yeah.
You can do it now. You could have done it that game. I think you could have pulled some of those off. Their defense wasn't blowing the Browns out. We were getting yards on them all over the place.
I agree. I 100%. I always say that. Put the guy in, not for the tush push. Put the guy in for yards. He'll get him.
Hey, fans want to see him anyway, and none of us believe he has shown anything that would make us think he is a future starting quarterback in the league. We're not completely counting him out, but we haven't seen anything that makes us think he's a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
If you want to see him, I don't know, throw him in there. I don't care. Throw him in there for 5 plays a game to do something like that.
Yeah, see, my point is what James saying on Facebook. He said they weren't running enough to get the running game going at all. Ford was starting to heat up. Actually, he wasn't. He only got 10 yards, averaging 2 per carry. But I think Ford's the type of back that would, if you continue to feed him, he does get better as the game goes on because the defense wears down. And Ford is a decent running, but he's not like Chubb. No one's gonna be Chubb, but I think he's good enough to kind of give him 10, 11, give Chubb 10, 11, and call it a day.
Yeah.
Next topic.
Here, let me do this. I'm the doctor here. So DeJuan Jones broke his spectacular fender fiendum. What was it, Chad?
Fender pun.
Fibula. I'm pretty sure it was his fibula, but I could tell you were getting
his fender.
Go ahead, Chad. This is all you, buddy. I had to do something.
Apparently, DeJuan fender flop is now malfunctioning. Okay, so real easy. We had one injury in this game, which sucks because of who it is and what he injured. It's DeJuan Jones, and it's absolute trash that we were all excited to see what he could do on the left side this year as the season went on, and could he progress and as he got more and more healthy and fit and in the offense. And then the second freaking starting game at left tackle, he goes out there, he gets rolled on, I think by
Teller.
Lost his footing, rolls on his foot, and breaks his ankle. It's a fibular fracture, and what that basically means is our ankle has the bones of like the foot, but in the leg, you've got your tibia, big thick bone, and your fibula. The fibula is the little one, and it's very commonly broken. When you hear ankle fracture, most of the time that's probably what broke. It can be all over the place. It can be, broken into pieces. It can be broken cleanly into 2. It can be broken, spiraled and odd shaped or straight. They're never going to tell us the details on that. The positive on it is, the negative is he's out for the rest of the season. Even if we were a playoff team, they're not bringing him back on that because of the recovery on it. The positive, though, is it's a very routine fracture. Everybody breaks their ankle all over the place in all different sports. And essentially, they're gonna either put a plate and screws or pins, probably most likely plate and screws, in there, and to make sure it's lined up and it heals properly, and he maintains as much motion in the ankle as possible. Now, depending on where it is, he could lose a little bit of motion, but the overall recovery for this is good. But the bad news is for like 2 months again, he's not going to be able to be on the move. He's not going to be able to be exercising. We already know he has weight issues. He's got an ankle and a knee past that's got to carry all the weight. But the good news is in about 2 months, he can start exercising. He'll start mini stuff before that, but actually like exercise like we would consider exercise. And by next season, like his prognosis is good. Guys break their ankle all the time and they come back and play good football. And so in the long run, we're hopeful that he's back, and he should have most of the offseason, unlike last year. Like this will be healed for him to start drilling by the new year, by January sometime, where he can at least start moving on it. And like through the whole actual offseason, he should be able to drill and practice at left tackle if you don't bring in another option at that spot. So I guess that is the bad part of it. And the silver lining of it is it's not like a long time limiting problem. And it's not like the knee surgery where it's like, well, he can get exercising in June when you can't let a guy that big not exercise until June. He's got to get out there.
I mean, we've seen it last year. And also I'm going to say pun intended when I say Cleveland just getting shot in the foot again, because we put the guy at left tackle. He's doing very well. And just to go down by your own teammate is an unfortunate injury. I know it happens quite a bit in this league, but just another Cleveland blow that we weren't ready to take, because seeing somebody move out of the complete opposite side of the field and do well is just what we needed, and we get shot.
Yeah.
Now we've had I think we've had 6 guys on our roster play left tackle in 10 games this season, and we've had, I think, 3 different guys play on the right side. So if you're looking for everything that can go wrong will go wrong, it has. DeJuan Jones missed a block that led to Jed Wills re-injuring that knee, which has been a ongoing dramatic blot. And Wyatt Teller rolls DeJuan Jones' ankle, who actually replaced Jed Wills. Like, it's just one guy on your own team very coincidentally taking out another. This is absolute terror on the offensive line.
But let's get back into the silver linings, Angel.
Silver linings. First one.
Because we need them.
Yes, because we need to detox from this negativity. We're going to have some positivity in this show. Silver linings. Nick Chubb improves, which I agree.
We just kind of touched base with all that as well. But
the numbers are so simple, though. Just to get specific, the numbers are simple. I don't know the exacts. Don't quote me. The first game he came back, he was rushing for like 2.2 yards a carry. The next game he came back, he was rushing for about 3 yards a carry. This game, he rushed for 4.5 yards per carry. That's 3 games and a yard per carry more or better every game. For anybody who is like, I don't think Nick Chubb will ever have it again, there's still a shot, folks, that Nick Chubb can work his way back into form by the end of the season, and you can bring him back next year, and barring some fluke injury again, you got yourself a running back. So that's a huge improvement in 3 games coming off the level of surgery he had, only rushing about 10 times a game on average.
I agree.
Second silver lining. Young guys continuing to play well and develop. Let's talk about the young guys. First, I want to talk about the game Jerry Jeudy had. What a game, right? You hope to see him consistently do this. Maybe Winston can be an answer here as a fill-in the future. Maybe that's a different topic for a different day. But he seems to be getting these receivers motivation and improving their development game by game, right? So we see Tillman. He had 3 catches, 47 yards. Pretty good, for him getting in the system. But Jerry Jeudy, you had David Njoku, 9 catches, 81 yards. Ford, 4 catches, 29 yards. What's really good about this receiving that you see in the stat line is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 receivers caught a pass. Weird to see from a Cleveland quarterback dicing the ball around, even though he didn't win the game.
Hey, you want to hear Kenny Mack's silver lining?
Yes.
Steelers and Ravens beat the shit out of each other. We need to get off to a fast start.
Hopefully.
They did. They really go at it, man. There's the sloppiest games ever. I feel like there's so much put on them. There's so much like hype build on them. And there's so much of like, there's almost like talked about this as having to be a tough rivalry so much that they just I feel like they have to live up to it, where they're like, we've got to just crush each other. We're not doing any major PFF scores today, but since you brought up the receivers as your like young guys, I just wanted to hit really quick. Cedric Tillman played 70 offensive snaps out of 73. He had a 68 green like performance. Jerry Jeudy had a 72, another green performance. He was out there 62 snaps. Elijah Moore, 68, another green like performance. And Jamari Thrash was out there for 14,
Wow.
14 plays. He didn't get much actual play on the stat line, but he got a 72 PFF score. So obviously he was winning his assignments. Kadarius Toney, I don't know if we have Kadarius Toney fans out there, but don't get excited because as per usual, Kadarius Toney had a terrible PFF score. But the point was, all those guys I just named are 25, 24, 23 years old, and all of them scored in the high 60s or 70s. And all of those guys are guys who you can win with them being on your football team this year or next. And that's awesome.
Adam, what's up, buddy? Thank you for joining us.
He's asking who's going to be the coach. We're going to get to that later.
Yeah,
That's like the topic of conversation. Everybody wants to fire the coach.
everybody wants to know what's going on with JOK as well, and there is literally no news on that.
Nothing out there.
Yeah, they're being quiet about that, and that is more telling than anything if they're being quiet.
Evan, so the best thing we have is a quote from Hicks saying, "Yeah, we're all hoping for a miraculous recovery," in response to Mary Kay saying he could be out for 4+ games to possibly the rest of the season. And that doesn't tell me anything, because a miraculous recovery could be like, yeah, we want him back after those 4 weeks, or we want him back at all. And then we had a quote from Kevin today from one of the Browns beat reporters he essentially said, like, yeah, he's still around here and he's still doing good. And that is it.
that's
no medical updates.
That's the Kevin's way.
Nothing.
Yeah, that's what we get every single week.
I
Very
love
little
it.
to nothing.
Love it. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. So yeah, we speak about the core players. So there's some core players offensively. If you look at the receiving core, I feel encouraged. I do agree with you what you said last week. I think we need one more like number one dog receiver in that mix.
Have them.
Yeah. So maybe Tillman can blossom into that. Maybe Jeudy can blossom into that. But I don't know. We'll see. It is good to see improvement on them though. Every week somebody's catching balls, someone's getting open, and they're actually catching. They're never dropping. So that's encouraging. Next silver lining, you've proven that you can still try to win and still get the top pick. Everyone wins.
Listen, I mean, if we win this game against the Steelers and go into 10 losses, I'll say it, Chad. I said it Sunday after the game. Just tank at that point. There's no point. Just go for the first pick. Go out there and play football. Try to build.
Mike is reeling about how this team needs to tank. You watch this team; they tried to win this week and they still lost.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Go out there and play good football, but in the end, lose. It's just 10 losses, man. There's nothing else to play for besides going out there playing football and trying to build something with the team besides wins, because that's the only thing while trying you can't even build. That's my point. I'm going to stick to that. I'm not going to steer away from that. I'm sure
somebody like Elijah Moore, who's on the last year of his deal and is praying to get signed somewhere, would disagree that he has something to play for. You know what I mean? Like, as fans, we don't. I mean, if it gets to December 15th and they have 2 wins, you're like, well, don't accidentally win 3 more to end the season. I guess my point is, I don't know why we would believe that would happen.
Yeah,
if they're playing like this now against the Saints, probably the worst team they have left on the schedule. I thought like, oh, they still have somebody bad. Let's see, Denver's like 500. That's not a bad team.
I know they're not going to do it either. So when it comes down to it, Kevin Stefanski will not.
he doesn't want to take his job, but
I'm not okay with tanking, but I agree with Chad. I think we're going to lose anyways. But what I'd be encouraged with is if the development of the young talent continues while you lose. So if you want to see, if we can see our young core continue to improve and we still lose, I think that's a win-win. I would still like to see wins for wins' sake. I mean, you're going to still get a top 5 pick. You probably can get your quarterback if you want him there. Or if you can get the top receiver, that's even better. But that's for a different show. But yeah, I agree.
I would love for us to beat the AFC North teams. We got to split the Battle of Ohio. That'd be cool.
Yep.
If we beat the hell out of Baltimore twice on some
That'd be
crazy
great.
whim, that'd be awesome in Baltimore. And if we beat the Steelers, man, then go. I mean, just do that, and I'm sure you could make Cleveland happy. Put them on some kind of pedestal for us to look forward to next year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I
try
mean,
not to completely embarrass us. Like, at least we know we're not going to go over. But
I think it would mean a lot if they win the division games. Now that's a big ask, huge ask, because Baltimore just lost to Pittsburgh, so that last game they're probably going to be playing. So
That game is such trash, man.
Yeah, I hope they do for the sake of culture, but again, it's a win-win. If they win, great. If they lose, great. I mean, it's a win-win for me.
I guess the other thing is, like, you feel different if you're like, we've got 2 wins. We're last in the pecking order, so we're actually going to have the first pick in the draft. Joe Burrow's sitting there, and we absolutely love him.
Yeah.
Like, the coaches love him. The GM loves him. We talked to our quarterback's coach, and he's like, this guy is everything that I need to run the packages I want. And there's 3 games left. Yeah, maybe you tell Kevin, like, why don't we simmer this down a little bit? We're all going to be safe. Let's get this guy. Guy does not exist. So the idea for me of like tanking is more like purposely like try not to give your best so that you finish lower. And although I appreciate a higher draft pick, I don't look at this draft and say like, wow, if you pick 1, you get somebody incredible. But if you pick 5, you're totally screwed. Like, I don't think that's the case. If it was a different year, I'd feel differently. And I don't want to be a terrible team picking 10th when we could be picking 4th.
Yes.
But I guess my thought is like, I actively expect us to be towards the bottom. And I don't think there's just that one guy you need at the top. There's just not your Andrew Luck sitting there where you're like, I need to finish 1 or 2 because I need this guy or this guy. And then you look at this year's draft, like most people want a tank and they want a quarterback to come out of that tank, right? Would you rather have picked first or second this year? Let me remind everybody who got picked. The number 1 prospect in the last several years, Williams, went to the Bears. And the number 2 prospect with a bunch of question marks about his size and how much he runs around went to the Commanders and is absolutely killing it. Like, I guess there's in a year like this year, it's like, I don't know, would it be Sanders? Would it be Ward? Would it be the kid from Texas that you guys both like, Ewers? Like, I don't know that you have to. I don't know that you have to pick first or second to get one of those guys. So it's like, to me, it's more like try to win. You'll probably lose anyway. Keep the expectation for effort up and just hope that you land with a good guy who can help this team. There's a bunch.
Guru says exactly 2025 isn't the kind of draft that you need a number 1 overall in. And I agree, but there's also other pieces to this team, especially the offensive line and defensive pieces that need fixed as well. So
part of me hopes, because I don't know if the quarterbacks are as bad as people are saying, maybe it's exaggerated. Part of me hopes they don't finish and like force fed a quarterback and like somebody like Hunter is sitting there where you're like, oh wow, we got an incredible game breaker. Other people took the quarterbacks. Or we filled our left tackle. We filled our left tackle because somebody else got the quarterback. Whatever it might be. We got great receiver because like we didn't feel like, oh shoot, we're here and now we have to take the quarterback. I just want organically a good player to fall to us at 5, 3, 7, whatever we land at. So that's just kind of where I'm at.
And again, I want to say really quick, thank you guys for joining us. If anybody wants an update on the Cavs game, it's 56-74 Celtics right now.
Smacked. It's be
so bad in the media because it's going to be like, see, this team's not that good. They lost to the Celtics. They can't beat the Celtics.
And then the game that we lose this year, everybody's going to be like, oh, man, screw the Cavs. Everybody, man, because, Cleveland.
It's the Celtics, man.
Not me. I'm there.
They're the best. The Celtics are champions for a reason.
They're the best in the East, and we're a little shorthanded today. I'm going to be fine, but I know the media will spin it into like, oh, see, the Cavs were fake. And you know what? Good.
Good.
We'll let him
Good.
know.
We'll show him. Yeah, let him know.
On to Brown/NFL news. I don't know if you hear this today, but a good friend of ours, an old friend, not a good friend, an old friend of ours made some comments about his current team, saying it's fun to be around these guys. They go out to eat afterwards and they go out and party. Where I was before, it wasn't as fun. Amari Cooper made news in the sports world today, this past week, saying that his team is more fun than the past teams he was in. Was that a dig on Cleveland or Dallas? Or both?
I think it's dig on everybody. Yeah. Dig on everybody before him. I have my own comment on this. One of you guys take this.
I want to say something. I sent you guys a
ahead.
picture yesterday. I figured out why he wasn't catching balls.
Oh, he had fingernails.
Yeah, his fingernails were
Those
like,
nails are huge.
he put his hand on his
Fingernail
face.
claws.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, dude, that's why you're not catching balls, Mr. Stone Hands. But he did make he had 2 receptions that day and had one-handed grab that probably will be the play of his season this year. That's it.
Nothing like a guy who's making no impact on his current team that just gave up
Talking
a
trash.
rounder for him, talking about how much better it is there while he averages 1 catch and 30 yards a week for the new team after getting 1,350 yards last year, averaging like 8 catches a week for like 80 yards. Like what a joke.
That's
This guy was.
Petty,
I was
man.
online. I said, "There's who." Greg Rosenthal posted like, "Oh, Amari Cooper saying that he's finally somewhere good and he finally like is on a team that he's enjoying." And I was like, "What a joke from a guy." I'll bet the Cowboys remember him saying something like that when he left the Raiders. I specifically remember him talking about that here when he left the Cowboys. Like, "Oh, I'm somewhere that appreciates me. I'm somewhere that wants me. I'm somewhere that's going to utilize me." Like I'm happy to have moved on. Like there's a red flag innately built into anybody who gets moved on from after 3 years and immediately has things to say about all the places he was before. Like what a joke this guy is, and what will probably be what we predicted to be like his last impact year as a professional. And when you look at his numbers, like I was anti-trade. And I feel like that was one of the points I was most wrong on in this season. I would never want a 3rd rounder for the production we're getting from him. For Christ's sake, we used the 3rd rounder on Tillman. He's doing David Bell type of production. Like, I guess just give me the 3rd rounder and give me a younger version of David Bell. He's 30 yards a game. Any 3rd rounder can get you that except for Anthony Schwartz. What are you talking about, man?
30s did not do him well.
Yes.
No, he's not going to get better. This is it for him. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it was a petty comment. He, for some reason, the Browns are living rent-free in his head, and he still feels the need to still make comments when the team is literally not even bringing him up. And to be honest, we don't even miss you, Tillman, because you left. Tillman has progressed, and our Jerry Jeudy has progressed. Our receivers has grown since he has left.
Did you know that
you were the problem?
Jeudy was 4 yards shy of his season record in a game?
No, I thought he was going to get 200 yards, man. I'm like, this dude's about to catch for 200. I thought he was going to get it, but he didn't. On to the next big topic of this week, guys, and it's something that everyone's talking about. Mike Vrabel or Kevin? Which one do you guys want? And why is it all of a sudden one news person, Tony Grossi, makes a comment about one coach being on the sideline, or not coach, but former coach being on the sideline. And all of a sudden, people are thinking, well, will Mike Vrabel be the next coach of the Cleveland Browns next year? Where's you guys' take on this, man?
Chad, go ahead.
I would like to open by saying that Amari Cooper still leads the NFL in drops.
Thank you.
With 11. So essentially, I was all over socials on this weekend. Somebody literally posted, this guy was on the side, Tony Grossi, this guy was on the sidelines, and immediately that gets retweeted 1,000 times, and all these people are like, ooh, he's there at the game, like this must mean something, this must be. Immediately, like me and maybe just a small group of others who are actually paying attention to this team all year, besides like the Twitter horde, were like, well, actually he was there at the Chargers game also. And then somebody commented, post a picture and like, here's him on the sidelines at the Ravens game. Like thank you, Tony Grossi. He's been at the last several games, and I'm not saying it doesn't mean anything that is there. It's just pay attention when Tony's posting this just to cause a stir. Like it is not different that he was at that game. He's been coming to all the games. It's just now part of his thing. He's coming to the games. Does it mean anything? Probably not. Like, if he gets hired, do I think it's like, oh, it's because he came to those games? He wants to be involved with the team. He's all over the place. He came to the game. For me, it's like, what a dumb thing to get all wrapped up about.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, but it was his first away game he went to. I'm like, that's because he started coming to the games 4 weeks ago, and this is our first away game. Like,
Yeah.
it's just the first time it came up. I don't know. It just seemed like such a Tony Grossi or anybody. Like, I posted this and people like ran with it, and it just turned into something so much bigger than it was. Just like the Hicks comment on JOK. Like, sometimes fans just take something and run with it and start turning it into so much more than it is, and I hate it.
It's annoying.
So yeah, I honestly, everybody knows that my second favorite team is the Tennessee Titans. So I have a soft heart for Mike Vrabel. I also have a soft heart for Kevin Stefanski. And being a Buckeye for Vrabel helps, but it's not time. It's just not time to let go of Stefanski.
I mean, he's in the building.
He's smart.
If you want to hire him, you can hire him later. Like he's literally not going anywhere. I just don't know what the rush is. I get it.
I think here. So I think we're going to try to keep him just so nobody else picks him up because he is smart as well. It'd be great for him to be like maybe an assistant head coach. Maybe.
I mean, look, and it's tough. It's tough online because we're all people that think for the most part and have pretty consistently, like Kevin Stefanski has been a good coach more than he's been a bad coach. His bad year in 2021 is more this crazy navigation that he still kind of held the ship together. 2020, he was great. Last year, he was great. Like, he's had more good than bad. We don't love his style of like blankness. We really could use an OC like, I hate to say like Dorsey, but like with some fire to like take that element of like being mad because fans want that. But like, I mean, it just feels like Kevin's worst trait is that he's just even, and Browns fans aren't, and so they freaking hate it. And I get that. I want somebody on the sidelines fiery too at times, but he and Vrabel have so many similar positives and negatives. I don't want to make the firing and rehiring just because we're like, I don't know, we're 2-7, so that means it's automatic because that's what Cleveland has always known. But that's so hard to say because if we did fire him and we had to, or if what if he just quit? I want out of here. Well, the first person I would think of is Mike Vrabel. So that's why it's so hard.
Option.
We all love Mike Vrabel.
George on Facebook says, well, Vrabel will be. It wasn't by accident. He was hired by Barry. This is old news. Vrabel's in the front office. People wake up.
He wasn't hired by Barry. I think Haslam hired him, no?
I mean, we never really find
out.
But...
Yeah, anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, and then Kenny says that Vrabes is going to stay here until OSU hires him.
I don't believe so. He has said he doesn't like recruiting and he hates the NIL and he doesn't want to do college. So I know we want him at Ohio State. I would love that. And like I said, if we had to have a different coach, I would love him. Mike, it sounds like you love him. I didn't know you were a Tennessee guy, but then you've watched. He's done some really great things and he's had some shortcomings. The funny thing about Andrew Berry is he had said in the offseason, like, I mean, he's not to the level of Bill Belichick, obviously, but he did talk about how he wants to go to an organization that he can pretty much take over, was something I remember from the offseason when it was like, oh, strange he didn't get a job. And it was like, well, he has a few more demands than other coaches. He wants to run the show. So that would be an interesting pairing for Barry.
All right.
Clearly runs the show.
Yes.
So you brought up a good point. He's gonna, let me start off with this. Okay. All right. This is so frustrating for me. It's so frustrating. I've been holding this in all week. Let me give you some stats. If Kevin ended his coaching career with a regular season record of 54-45, that's a 545 winning percentage. Would you guys be happy with that? after 5 years. He's got 2 more years. If he's no, okay.
But I can easily look at this season and take this season and go, God, I can happily look at him from before this season and compartmentalize that.
Okay, so if he ended his 5-year coaching career here at 2-3 in the postseason, would you guys be happy with that?
I actually would. Yeah, I think
you would.
I would, because I think coaches lose so much more in the playoffs than they win. You have to, unless you go all the way. You're always going to go 1-1 or
Mike,
worse.
Yeah.
Would you be? You guys see my notes. That's why you answer it. But so the first year is 9-7. You'd be like, oh, good year for a head coach. Second year, 9-7. You go to a conference championship, but you lost. You're like, oh, this is great. We're progressing. And then next year you go 11-5, and you lost in the first playoff game. It's a wild card game, and you lose against your division rivals, the Ravens. Would you be happy that year? No, you was like, this sucks, right? Then you go 12-5 the next year, and you lose in the division game, but against your division rival in Cincinnati. The fans were revolt, correct? They were like, this guy can't coach. He can't win the big game, right? And then you come back after that loss in the division game and go 7-10. What would the fans do? We want a coach. We want a new coach, right? We want a new coach. And then after the 7-10 season, you think he was going to improve, but yet he doesn't. He goes 6-11. What would the fans do? The fans were going to want a new coach. And that's exactly what happened to him in Tennessee. The guy that everyone's pining for to be the next coach of the Cleveland Browns is exactly what happened. Mike Vrabel, that was what he did in Tennessee. And the reason why he wanted to leave is because they did not give him too much authority, in which he was obviously regressing in the record. So why would you give someone authority that was not proving to win? He went from 12 wins and in 2 years went half with 6 wins. My question to you, Browns fans, is why are we asking for a guy who ended his career at 6-11?
Yeah.
Why?
Okay. And I do like him, but if you are playing devil's advocate, because I like him as an option, and I can kind of separate, like, why did some things go the way they were, and we could dive into it deeper anytime, and we probably will at some point if we have to. But for me, there's been some ups. The ups is he has had a lot more consistent quarterbacking. The downs is he never really had a star quarterback there either. Nobody that we would really have been pining for. And I guess, like, the thing that comes to me the most often is people are very pissed about the Browns' effort, fundamentals, attitude this year. He's been in the building working with them the whole year. That's actually what makes me the most nervous is, wait, what makes you think if he's not making an impact as this consultation role, like, what? I'm not saying I don't think he'd be a good head coach. I'm saying, what makes you think the team would get all fired up with him as the head coach when he's already in the building? Why aren't they a little more fired up now then? Like, I don't know.
James Frank probably has my favorite comment. And this is, I said this in numerous other shows. I want that Dan Campbell attitude and expression with his emotions.
But that's not Kevin.
It's not, but that's how you.
I think Kevin has shown some expression in the sideline this year. I think he's done that. And
it's a tough sport. I want sideline discipline.
Sideline discipline. I would agree with that.
And that's the thing. Like I said, we all want somebody to blow up every once in a while, but, like, Tomlin doesn't blow up a ton. Shanahan doesn't blow up a ton. There's Andy Reid doesn't blow up a ton. There's a bunch of good coaches that don't blow up. There's a bunch of good coaches that don't blow up. To me, one of my coaching quests is not for a coach to blow up. I like it, but I just want him to be good. I mean, that's more than everything. Like, I don't care about his demeanor as much as I care, is he good? And this year, Kevin's team stinks. But the last 4 years, I haven't felt that at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Cavs are making a comeback, 76-82.
Okay, I had to do the math there. Okay, good. I was like 76-82. All right, that's good. Next topic, updated draft order. I think we are picking number 1, Jacksonville. Number 2, Tennessee. Number 3, Cleveland. Number 4, Las Vegas. Number 5, the Giants. Now, the Giants have sat Daniel Jones in their starting veto. Matter of fact, they put Jones at the 3rd string quarterback because they wanted to make sure.
Call a tank. Yeah. Except for, I think everybody likes Tommy DeVito better than Jones.
Yeah,
So-
and they also want to protect Daniel Jones so he doesn't get hurt because he's guaranteed money. So even if he's hurt, he has some guarantee in his contract. But that's your updated draft order brought to you by us.
Yes, I'll do the next one.
do we have a sponsor for that segment?
No.
One thing
I
I want to
lost my
say in the draft
arm.
order is there is still, to everybody out there looking at the draft, thinking about tank, I get it. There's still 9 teams in the league
Mhm.
that have 3 wins or less. So when I look at the draft order and people are like, oh, right now the Browns are picking 3rd in 1 week. If we
It can
buy
change.
coincidence, if we buy coincidence, because it won't be by skill. If we buy luck to beat the Steelers this week, we could literally swing from 3rd up to like 7th, 8th, 9th. So we'll be watching it and covering it every week. But like if you're looking at the mock drafts and saying like, oh, perfect, we'll have a top 3 pick, it could swing all over the board. Like don't get your heart set on anybody yet. Start looking at, but chances are it will be in the top 10. So start when you're doing your draft reviews, and we will too, just look at the top 10 products and keep an open mind to those guys, because you may not just have number 3. And I know how Browns fans are for doing this for a long time. You're going to look at somebody who's going in the top 4. You're going to get your heart set on him as like, he's definitely my guy 100%. And then we're going to pick 6th, and he's not going to be in the board, and you'll never be happy because you didn't look into anybody else. So just keep an open mind to those top 9, 10 guys.
Yeah, I'm not getting super excited about the draft right now.
Yeah, it's too early.
It's probably time to look.
Yeah,
right.
it's
It's
fun
time
to
to
look at.
speculate on who are the top prospects, but it's not time to be like Browns should take Shedeur Sanders. Like,
Well,
yeah,
you
maybe
got to
it's
also remember this
first.
is
Like, I don't know.
this is Andrew Berry's first round pick. First
Maybe.
round pick.
Maybe
Yeah, if you don't trade it away
21.
again.
First round pick since Newsome, and that was like pick 23. Definitely not pick 5.
All right, next topic. Worst, is it this year or 0-16 season?
This year, the roster we have is getting blown out the water right now, and it extremely pisses me off. So yes, 0-16 I was able to deal with. We celebrated that season in Cleveland fashion. We had a parade for it. It was a fun year to watch them lose. This year sucks. Way
Poop.
worse. Yes.
I agree with Mike. I think this year sucks because for me personally, because I thought 0-6. I didn't think we would go 0-16, but I didn't think that team was good enough, as good as I thought this team was good enough. I think in the beginning of the year, me and Mike had them at 10, 11 wins. You know, I even thought back in my head, I wanted to say 12. But I said, dude, be realistic, do 10, do 11, right? So for me, this team is worse because of my expectations. Now that could be my fault. I could just victim blame me all you want. Say that's your fault. You're right. It's my fault.
I don't think
for having high expectations. You know. So for me, this.
I mean,
is
I
the
didn't even
worst.
have high expectations, and they're still way below my expectations. So like, nobody had this low of expectations. Vegas had them at like 9 wins. So like,
yeah, they did. Yeah.
nobody was like they're going to be terrible. Most people, like even the betting sites, which was lower than most Browns fans, nobody saw this. So like, you can't feel bad. Like some people's expectations were too high, but your expectations were never going to be 2. They were going to be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like unrealistic to come into this season thinking the Browns were going to win 2 games at this point. No freaking way you can convince me without proof you thought that. So like, don't blame your expectations. This team is a gigantic letdown to every prediction in all of football this year.
Yeah. What makes it worse is that you added. It's like an onion. So you add the quarterback situation, you add your income situation, and then you add the horrible season that you're going to have, and then you're going to have the effects after the season, because what's going to happen is you're broke. You're broke. You have no money. So you got to hit these. Barry or the next GM has so much pressure to hit on these picks, because if you don't, this team is going. We're going to have many shows like this, guys, and it's going to turn my beard as gray as Mike's.
Damn you!
And my and we're going to have wrinkles. We're going to be like 90 years old, okay? Because this team is just going to be so horrible. Now they can probably get lucky. Like teams have been getting like Washington hit the quarterback and they got it. So the team always says you're a quarterback away. You're a quarterback away. And there's some truth to that. But the under thing here is we still have money issues. Even if we find a quarterback, we're still going to be limited on who we pay to put around them. And that's something
killing me right now.
Yeah, that's something we'll talk about in a different show. We'll do that in the summer.
I'm almost. I'll just say this: you have so close to convince me that it's this year, but I'm still going to go with the 0-16 season, and it's only for one reason. Like, I get it. Like this year, the expectations, even I had our lowest expectations. They were still much higher than this. I thought we would be a competitive team who would feel good about the product we have, and we all feel like shite. But here's the only reason the 0-16 team bothers me more is because for the rest of my life, they're going to put on the board, here are the dope piece of crap franchises that have won 0 games in a season. And it's going to be like for 50 years could pass, and we're still going to be there with one year the Browns lost 16 games and won 1 game in 2 seasons. And it's always going to be there with like 2 other teams. And it's just historically, I hate that that's always going to be on the screen right after they show the drive and the fumble and the jersey with 78 quarterbacks on the back. It's just another embarrassing blot to add to this. And as bad as they are this year, it feels probably worse this year because we didn't expect it as much as we expect. I mean, we knew they came into that 0-16 season, traded away everybody, signed 0 free agents, and we knew we're winning 3 games or less this year. So you're right. For that year, this year might be worse for the year. But when we got to like the last 2 games of that 0-16 season, and I realized we're not going to win, and we're going to appear on that board as a winless team, from that point on, I've always been like, oh, God, I hate that season so much.
Yeah, it was a
quick update. The Cavaliers made a swift comeback, and from what I can tell, it's 88-93, ending the third quarter. Let's close this out so I can go watch the fourth quarter.
Wait, we're going to move the Browns to Brook Park and get rid of the Cleveland curse. That's what's going to happen, even though that land was annexed to them. It's not Cleveland's land.
Nobody should have wanted to move more than you should want to move after this season and just say, I'm actually more likely to buy a Factory of Sadness shirt and be like, I hope this really is the Factory of Sadness. And now we're moving into a new manufacturing plant, and it is the Factory of Happy, and it's like a totally new thing. Like, let's just pray that the new stadium brings a new quarterback and a new vibe and something for the future.
Trophies, lots of Super Bowl trophies. On to the Cleveland sports headlines. First of all, Cleveland's Jake Paul currently better than Mike Tyson.
Geriatric Mike.
No, Mike Tyson, man. Come on. Don't give Jake Paul, don't let him lose. He beat Mike Tyson.
I think he did. I think he held back. He held back.
Yeah, it seemed like like round 2 ended and Mike Tyson was already stumbling, and I watched them like walk in circles around each other for the next like 7 rounds. And I was like, they're not letting this. They're not letting this this match end. Like, they're just taking it to the end. Dude, Jake Paul would have gotten literally knocked out of the ring by Mike Tyson even 10 years ago. I'm fully convinced after watching that. I was like, wow, Mike Tyson would have just annihilated somebody. But I'm counting it as a Cleveland win because Jake Paul's from Cleveland. He had Cleveland crap all over the screen. I feel like most of Cleveland was like, I hope he gets punched in the face and just slams to the deck. But he didn't. So I thought it was worth bringing up.
Yeah. Jake Paul, the new boxing GOAT.
Yep.
Yeah. Next one. The Cleveland Cavaliers are currently 15-0. Looks like they can close in on 16-0 if they have a good fourth quarter here.
They've done it.
Yeah. They've done it. They closed in.
They are a fourth quarter team.
They're 14.
They are
yes.
incredible in the fourth quarter. I've watched them already like
amazing.
7 games this year, and they're constantly like, oh, we're up by 2 in the fourth quarter to start, and then there's 5 minutes left and they're up by 4, and then there's 30 seconds left and they're up by 14. And I'm like, how do they even do that?
Yeah. Yeah, they're a good team. Good coach, playing to the skill set of their players, which is a smart move by the organization to bring in Kenny Atkins. I'm glad they chose him.
They went from a good coach. They went from a good coach to a better coach. And I guess that's a bad thing to talk about when we're talking about Kevin Stefanski and the Browns. but they very fortunately went from a good coach to a different type of good coach that had them hold on to what they had already been coached on and just added just this element to take them from like a playoff team who could win around to like a championship contender battling the Celtics. It's awesome.
Last, so we can get off and watch the rest of this game. Stephen Vogt, Manager of the Year for the Guardians. How exciting is that?
Coach of the Year, Manager of the Year. Guess who's coming up next? Atkinson is coming up for Coach of the Year for the NBA. We're about to get the trifecta of Coach of the Years. You all watch. We're about to get 3 in a row, fools.
Yes.
Well, and Cleveland is back on the map for coaches.
And in 2029, like James Frank says, once we get the new stadium, it'll be called the Warehouse of Extraordinary Happiness.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, I love that.
Love it. We're done. We're ending it there.
Yes.
Thank you guys for watching. Go ahead.
WEH.
Way.
See, it makes you happy when you hear it.
Yes.
Factory of Happiness. So yeah, follow our socials, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Thank you for watching. And we'll be live Saturday. We'll probably talk a little bit about the Browns win in Pittsburgh Thursday night, because the Browns are, Mike, you pointed it out in the chat, 6-0 on Thursday nights. And yeah, so we have a chance. There's a chance to win Thursday night. If
can't lose.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see you Saturday, me and Mike at least. And